Alright, I got a cool video for you guys. I wanted to make a video that explains what, subtle small differences skateboarders might be looking for when they're looking for a deck. These are all 8 1/4 boards. So you go shopping for a board and, what is your only option you usually get to pick from? 8 1/4. And then it is whatever it is, right? Well, I wrote some measurements on here and I'm going to go through it with you. Okay? So, when you have your tail to the center of your bolt holes, if you float the tape over and hover it so it's level, I have this measurement, 6.5, where if I lay the tape down to the bolt holes, it's slightly bigger. It's 6 11/16. And I marked them with a curved line representing laying the tape down and a flat line level, okay? Now, these two decks that I have with my brand of Few that I manage, they have 14 1/4 inch wheelbases, so I wrote that on there. And when they're pressed, they have different lengths, right? So, again, you lay the tape down, lay it down, and lay it back up. You get a 32-inch long board. Whereas if you go straight across level, it's actually about 31 5/8. This might be important to some people when they want a specific size. The nose, when you lay the tape down to the center of the bolt hole, is 7. Whereas if you go level across, it's 6 7/8. I feel like these are all important to know. So I wrote that on these boards. So even though these are the same brand, they're pressed a little different. They're even the same graphics on the bottom. That's a 7 or 6 7/8, and this one is a 7/8 or 7. So the nose is slightly bigger on this, probably because it was on the top. It was probably pressed on top of this one. Whereas this one, 6 11/16, 6 5/8. So the tail's shorter. So the tail's shorter on this one and the nose is longer. Whereas this one has about only 1/4 inch difference between. That's almost a twin board there. But they're the same graphic, same width, same overall length. Okay, moving on. This is a primitive deck. When you lay it down, you actually get a pretty big one, 32 1/4, and the nose and the tail are pretty steep too. But same thing, level across is 7, lay it down 7 3/16. Lay it down 6 3/4, level across 6 5/8. So this is a pretty similar tail to 6.5 to those two. It's a little bigger, and this nose is way bigger than those. I don't really like a nose that big. And this wheelbase is 14, so that's interesting. It has bigger, steeper kicks, but a smaller wheelbase. And a longer overall. So that's that shape. This wheelbase is a little different. This is 14.38. This is a pretty cool board that I picked up. And I got it at Support Your Local Skate Shop Day. The tail on this one is actually pretty big, 6 11/16, hovering across, and 6 9/16 if you laid it down. That's a pretty big tail. I like that. I've ridden deluxe boards and wheel boards. I like longer kicks. It's just more comfortable. And the nose isn't too big, which is pretty cool. Like this primitive deck is really big. You get 7 on the flat. This is 6 3/4 on the flat. 7 3/16 on the primitive if you laid it down, and this is 7 if you laid it down. And the steepness of the kick is almost as steep as primitive, but not as steep, but steeper than those. So these are just important things that can really change how comfortable you are on a skateboard. And I wanted to make this to point that out because these are all 8 1/4 wide. Interestingly, none of these taper. They all stay 8 1/4 from bolt holes to here, bolt holes to there. I did have a pizza board that tapered, kind of like Ninja Houston's style boards, where he starts at 8 1/4 and tapers down to like 8 1/8. I guess he gets those like that, or used to. I read that and seen that somewhere, but I wanted to make this video and show you that boards can be different, even though the widths are the same. So if you're looking for a specific board type, that's a good way to do it, and find out with what you're comfortable riding.